Hi. Today I'm going to talk something about uh, I'm going to review a book which I just read yesterday, "The Psychology of Stupidity" by Jean-Francois Monod. I'm not completed the book. I think I completed about 75% of it, but because it just jumps across different places. You need a lot of concentration, right? Some things do repeat there, but it's a good book. I mean, it's a good book to review. Um So what he says is that actually it's kind of a different. He has it's a collection of different authors, right? Who have written about problems of stupidity, right? And then different papers, and he has interviewed some of them. Some of them are kind of an essay. Some authors are giving an essay. Some authors he has interviewed, and that interview he has published, right? So it's collection of different authors actually. So basically, what he says is that peculiar nature of error is that it does not recognize itself. Descartes said that. Now, same thing can be said about stupidity. A stupid person, a fool cannot recognize himself, right? And then he talks something about collective intelligence. Now, collective intelligence is something like if you are within a group of smart people, your outputting becomes better, right? Somehow you imbibe the intelligent way of working from the others, and your output becomes better, right? Supposing you're with creative people, right? You try to supposing you are not you are trying to solve a problem, and you are with creative, your friends are all creative. You tend to look at the problem, you tend to reduce the problem in a creative sense, right, and try to solve it in a creative manner. So if you're supposing if you are a physicist among maths, your groups all do maths, but you are a physicist. You try and solve a problem according to maths. Okay, you have your physics knowledge, but you also get knowledge from maths and try and solve a problem according to maths. Maybe a physics problem, but you can still solve it through maths. So that's called as collective intelligence. Now there's something called as collective stupidity. Now collective stupidity means that when you're with stupid people, uh, you might join a group, right? You might join a group which seems to be on your level, right? But then slowly the group changes. I mean, the dynamic changes and it becomes bad. I mean, slowly becomes worse. As it becomes worse, since you are within that group, you're trying to conform to the group, trying to fit within that group. Since you're trying to fit within that group, slowly you lose your own. You whatever intelligent thoughts you have, you hide them, right? What are things which you think may be wrong, or maybe what they are doing is not right or stupid. You still trying to conform. You try to actually just agree with them, right? That's called as collective stupidity. I mean, uh, everyone is since you have to conform, right? Slowly, I mean, initially you will find it difficult, right? But slowly, since when it comes again and again and again, you cannot stand out, right? You have to be in the group. So you stop thinking. Your level of thinking becomes the group's level of thinking. That's called as collective stupidity. Then there's something called as negativity bias. Now negativity bias. Now negativity bias means that we concentrate more on the negative aspects, right? Compared to the positive aspects, right? We store lots of negative things which happen negative to us, right? Compared to how much we store with things which happen positive to us, right? So that's called as negativity bias. So many decisions we do because of the things which we think lots of negative things happen to us. So we decide accordingly. Um, right? So supposing you have cooked a very good dish, right, and it's a group of friends, and you give the dish. They all eating, they love the dish, but they always mention that the salt is less, right? So now they'll remember that the salt was less in the dish, not how well the other aspects or how well the dish actually tasted, right? They'll remember that there was less salt in it. So that's called negativity bias. Most of us tend to go in that direction. Um, I mean, it says not only stupid or low IQ people are stupid, right? I mean, even highly intelligent people can be, or sophisticated people can also be stupid. Basically, what he says is that you have an intelligent person. He might be intelligent in one particular field, right? He might let's say he's good in maths, right? Or he's good in physics or chemistry or whatever. And supposing he's good in physics, but he might not be good in, say, getting the best deals in the supermarket, right? Person who has a housewife or whatever, who has not even done a bachelor's or done his bachelor's can get the best deals from the supermarket compared to even a Nobel laureate physicist, right? So, intelligence is, it can be limited to a particular field, your particular field. You might not be intelligent. For example, supposing you're playing thieves and robbers, and you are a professor, right? But there can be someone who can find with the clues given, can find the thief better than you could. I mean, it might take you a lot much longer time than a person who has not even completed a degree, right? And you might be intelligent among your peer group, but still someone else will be there who will be able to find this. You use this clues to find the thief, in that game. So intelligence can be on a particular level. So you might be very intelligent, but you could be stupid in some other levels. So we contrast that with the honest stupidity, right? Honest stupidity is right. Uh, you don't even claim yourself to be intelligent. It happens with ordinary life. You never claim to be intelligent. You make mistakes. That's called as the honest stupidity compared to intelligent stupidity. Now you can be intelligent and stupid because of your emotions, right? You might let your emotions run wild, or you might be slave to your emotions. It can happen that when emotions get control over you, you don't think much. I mean, intelligence is a waste, right? Emotions take over. You decide based on emotions, right? So that's called as intelligent stupidity. Uh, in his then there is a he talks about Daniel Kahneman's book Thinking Fast and Slow, right? He says then Kahneman said there are two levels of or speed levels in which we think. The first level is fast, and the second one is slow. Now, when you're thinking fast, uh, b- basically you're taking a small data set, right? Within a small data set, you take it, you decide immediately, and you can come to a conclusion or come to an action or decide an action, right? It's spur of the moment, um, and then you move on to other things. But then when there's slow thinking, I mean, slow thinking, what you do, you take in more data, you think a little. I mean, you have seen this problem before. You try and understand what the solution was, or you get in different data points on different places from your brain, right? Collect them, and then you find that you have a different solution. You act differently. So that is slow thinking. I mean, the conclusion you get from fast thinking and slow thinking can be different, because you might have taken in fast thinking, you might have taken a smaller data set, or you might have concentrated on one particular point. And when you're thinking slowly, that point you find is not as important as other points. So what you decide when you're thinking fast and what you decide when you're thinking slow is can be different, right? The conclusion can be different. Actions which you decide based on what you thought can be different. And in fast thinking, you have actually something you do a lot of errors. You actually you sometimes go just for trial and error. You don't think deep, just trial and error. See if it works. Doesn't work, try something else. That is fast thinking. Slow thinking, you actually do complete reasoning, logical thinking, and stuff like that. But problem with we usually go for fast thinking because fast thinking is does not take a lot of our energy, right? Slow thinking takes a lot of energy. You have to also you cannot do two or three things simultaneously. With fast thinking, you can eat a good dish, right? Enjoy the dish as well as think fast and come up with some dishes, right? If you have some office meetings, and you're in the restaurant, you're eating and still discussing about things that need to be done, right? So certain points that need to be done, you're eating and still deciding on these things. But when you're thinking slowly, you cannot do that. You have to be quiet, go to a quiet place, think a lot, right? See, there is no noise around you. You don't have multiple things to do. You cannot watch the TV and think deeply, right? You'll either be watching TV or you'll be thinking deeply. So so thinking deeply takes a lot of energy. So you don't go. You don't decide to think slowly, immediate every time. First, you think fastly, think fast, and then you go and think slowly, right? Uh, then he talks about different kinds of biases. Uh, now, there are different biases, right? So the main category is cognitive bias. Now he talks about something called as hindsight bias. Now, what's a hindsight bias? Uh, Hindsight bias means you are proud of what you can predict, right? You might have known one team has won, right? You already predicted one team has won, so you always try to use something called as hindsight bias, or you're using prediction, right? Supposing a political analyst has predicted one particular party is going to win, but then when he sees another party is going to win, then the political analyst will try and reanalyze. I mean, he will say that it did happen because of these things, and so some other points came into, but he couldn't actually predict. So but he still say he could predict it, right? But something changed. So something is called as hindsight bias. Um, so people may say things, I knew it would happen. I could have told you so, even if they didn't have any actual information, right? That's called hindsight bias. Now, the next thing he talks about is an authority bias. What's an authority bias? Now, basically, authority bias means that uh, you defer your decisions, or you defer your judgment, or you think someone else knows more than you, depending on what authoritative position he is in. Supposing he's an elderly person. You defer your judgment because he might say something and you might think something, but you defer your judgment to him because he knows more, because he's elder. He has more years of experience, right? Experienced person, right? You defer your judgment to the experienced person. Or supposing person is lying on the road, right? And there is two strangers around you. One is a lab. One is one with the suit and tie. The other one is a lab coat, right? So who do you ask? You ask the person with the lab coat automatically, not with the person who's wearing a suit and tie. You think that lab coat is the one who's dealing with medicine. You should know more. He might be he might just be in a fancy dress or something, but you still ask him the first. You still ask him help before the one who's wearing a suit and tie. So that is called as the authority bias. Next is something called as the illusion of causality, right? Uh, See, now let's assume that A implies B and A implies C. It does not mean that B implies C. It can mean B implies C, but need not be that B implies C. So something that is called as causality bias. I mean, there could be a correlation. I mean, there can be lots of points in common between A and B, right? But it not does not mean that when A happens, B also should happen. I mean, they may be very similar, but or you always feel that when A happens, B is happening, right? You see that multiple years or multiple times you do an experiment, you see that A happens. When A happens, B also happen. But it not necessarily be the case all the time, right? It might happen during that season, or it might happen during that short interval you tested, or there may be a C which is actually since when A happens, C also happens, right? But if C doesn't happen, B will not happen, like that. So there could be multiple reasons when there may be kind of a correlation, but they will not be the cause or the effect, right? But we in our minds we keep that in store, right? When we seen A happen, we also seen B happen. So we keep it in store that when you see A next time, we also expect that B should happen, right? So he gives an example of something called as stocks, the bird, right, and babies, right? Say stocks arrive in your village, a large number of stocks. Previously, there were only 20 stocks used to come. Now 100 stocks came in your village to migration, maybe, or for drinking water in the river or something, or eating fish or something. So when you see the large number of stocks, you also see large number of babies being born. Now you see that on the first year, you see on second year. On third year, you assume that if 100 stocks are coming, 100 babies will be born, right? Or number of babies born will be more if more stocks come to your village. But it might happen first 2 years, but it will not necessarily happen third year. So that's called illusion of causality. He also thinks something about, like, if a person is handsome or a girl is beautiful in a classroom, right? The other students will think they'll be more success than people who are ugly, right? I'm ugly, but my classmate is beautiful or handsome. He or she will be more successful in life, right? So that is not necessarily true. I mean, beauty has nothing to do with success, right? So he talks about something called as the cognitive bias, with related to causality. Basically, what he says is that our mind finds patterns, tries to find patterns in everyday life, and patterns and connections in everyday life. Why do we do that? I mean, it's necessary. For example, you keep a glass right at the edge of the table, and you see a glass at the edge of the table. Now you'll know that a slight push and it'll fall and break, right? So you take the glass and put it at the center. Do you know that? I mean, you have seen it happen before, right? So you made a connection between glass which is at the edge of the table and it's falling, right? So we do make connections, and connections are necessary. We do make patterns. Patterns are necessary to so much. There's so much data in our life, right? So much data we have, so much information we get every day. Now we cannot store all that information. We cannot store all that data in a raw form. We cannot recollect it. So we make patterns, right? We make connections and store those connections into our brain. Now it's necessary, but it creates the causality effect, right? Also because we are creating connections. So there may not be a reason for there may not be a connection between two events, but since we have created a pattern in our mind, we associate those two together. That's called causality bias. Then here something called as a confirmation bias. Now, what is the confirmation bias? We have decided something. We already decided something in our minds. Why we decided somewhere because of certain things, right? Maybe our peers told us, or our elders told us, or parents told us, or our spouses told, or we have seen it happen, and we have kept those things in our mind. We have decided something in our mind. Now, even if we get evidence to the contrary, saying someone already proved that it's not right, we will still hold on to our bias. Why is that? Because it's natural, because we don't want to be unsure in our life. We want to be something sure, right? So when someone breaks that surety, we tend to reject whatever it is, right? Because we want to be sure. Unless we are sure, we are not able to progress. We have to be sure in some things, at least. So in many things, so to progress, to move ahead. So something called as that's called as a cognitive bias. I mean, confirmation bias. Even someone tells you that it is wrong, or someone proves that using some scientific method that it is what you are thinking, or what you have decided, what you have concluded was is wrong, you still hold on to your old way of thinking, or old whatever you have concluded earlier. Still, you won't change, and you do not want to change. So that is called as cognitive confirmation bias. Again, he talks about stupidity that does not discriminate based on intelligence. Even Nobel laureates can be stupid. Now he tells you why intelligent people can be stupid, right? So if you are intelligent, need not be a genius. Even if you're intelligent, you need not be a genius. And what a genius can do, intelligent person may not be able to do. But since there is no actual gradient, right? You cannot grade between. I mean, you gradation. You cannot say am I a genius, or am I just intelligent, right? You cannot self analyze or self evaluate yourself. So people go around thinking that they are more intelligent than they actually are. But when they are planning, and when they are doing something which is above what they can actually do, they will do stupid things, but hide the fact because they think they're intelligent. So even intelligent people can be stupid. So he says something about he talks about rational thinking. The solution, I mean, one way of is a rational or critical thinking. Now, what is rational or critical thinking is you take in account, you evaluate different information, you analyze evidence, you make judgments based on this evidence, based on what you have analyzed, taken large amount of data or what. data, what has happened prior, I mean, if you acted this way, what would have happened? So we take in prior whatever, decisions I mean, what you have seen in real life, right? Things which you have seen in real life, you experience, right? So you think, you take in all this effect and come up with a logical or rational conclusion or action based on thinking like that. So uh, it is a skill that allows you to think rationally in goal oriented fashion, right? Um, so these people are not being these people are do not get affected by people who are stupid, right? Who create false kinds of information and feed it to you, all right? So people who are rational thinkers or critical thinkers do not get affected by them as more as others who are not rational thinkers, who go by emotion, or who go by collective stupidity, who go by who do not think at all, let the judgment, let someone else think for me, something like that. So people who are critical and rational thinkers are not affected by these kinds of different kinds of biases. He also talks about 1976 US President Jimmy Carter mentioned about UFOs, right? He's not stupid. I mean, it was like collective stupidity. Like, if many people were thinking about saying that UFOs exist, so obviously he had to go in along. He had to conform to that group. So he was saying he'll make every piece of information about UFO sightings public, right? So there was Jimmy Carter in 1976. That's all, I guess. Just review. Come up with some other things or just talk not naturally. Something like that. Bye.